Good morning, everybody, unless of course you're watching this video in the evening. In that case, good evening. And you are watching Time Travel TV, and today we'll be talking about perhaps the most famous king in English history who may not have even existed, King Arthur! Da-da-da! Da-da-da! And we'll also be talking about whether he existed or not. But first, who was King Arthur? Was he like this?
Rise, King Arthur. I am your humble knight, and I swear allegiance to the courage in your veins.
Or was he a little bit more like this?
If you do not open this door, we shall take this castle by force. In the name of God and the glory of our...
So, to answer the question, who was King Arthur, we need to look at when he was first mentioned. And he was first mentioned by a chap called Geoffrey of Monmouth in the 1130s in his book, The History of the Rulers of Britain. The term history in this case is a bit loose when it comes to Geoffrey of Monmouth, but let's go with it. He detailed about a chap called Uther Pendragon who fell in love with a woman called Igraine. Unfortunately for Uther, Igraine was already married to the Duke of Cornwall. So what Uther Pendragon did, he went to his friend Merlin, who was a conjurer, and Merlin gave Uther Pendragon a potion to make him appear like the Duke of Cornwall so he can go to Tintagel Castle where Igraine was and conceive little Arthur. Anyway, Arthur was then born, not knowing who his real father was, although when he found out at the age of 15, he was crowned king. And at the time, there was lots of Saxon invaders, because this was the Romano-British time. Just after the Romans left, the Saxons were coming in. So he is said to have united Britain and driven off the Saxon invaders. Geoffrey of Monmouth says he was a great uniter of the British people.
I am Arthur, King of the Britons.
Arthur was also a great fighter and fierce in the face of his enemies.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
He and his knights were courageous in the face of danger.
Run away! Run away!
They maintained the highest possible moral standards. Well, okay, maybe not the last one, but you get the idea. King Arthur was one hell of a guy. So, did he exist? Well, for a start, the first we actually hear of Arthur, as we've already said, was by Geoffrey of Monmouth in the 1130s, and we now know that Geoffrey of Monmouth was a bit of a fibber. In fact, his history of the rulers of Britain was less history and more sensationalism. And by virtue of the fact that the Saxon invasion, which Arthur repelled, was less of an invasion and more of a mass settlement, which was more amicable than anything else, we can only assume that King Arthur is more legend than anything else, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, the King Arthur we see in books, films, and on the stage is a bit made up.
I saw what I saw! The boy drew the sword.
Yes, sorry about that, Patrick Stewart. King Arthur probably didn't exist. However, if he did exist, he'd be absolutely nothing like how we know him from films and literature. All the Knights of the Round Table stuff and the Holy Grail was all added to later, mainly by the Victorians. So, I hope I haven't spoiled too many of your dreams. But if you did enjoy this video, please subscribe to Time Travel TV, and I'll see you next time. Cheerio.